Good morning, parents of the North Penn School District class of 2034. We're just going to give this a few seconds, let everybody join the room. We should have about 115 folks joining us today, and looks like we're getting most in at this moment. So we're going to let this room fill up a little bit, and we'll get started here in just a minute. Okay. Good job, kindergarten parents. You guys filled up that room really quickly. So we just plateaued out. It looks like we've got everybody in the room. We're going to spend the next several minutes going through kindergarten information session. I'd like to start by just pointing you to the bottom of the interface. There's a button called Q&A. That's a place where if you hadn't already submitted questions through the Google Forms, through the email, you can also ask questions in that interface there. We're not going to get into specifics or specific cases for individual students. But generally we'll ask we'll go through the general questions, and we do ask that we do have a presentation. So you may have questions right now. And I see one that just popped up. If we have questions, to watch the presentation first, get the information, and then ask your questions at the end. We're probably going to answer most of your questions in the course of the presentation. So that being said, looks like we've got everybody in the room. Dr. Betty Santoro is our Director of Elementary Education. Dr. Santoro, meeting is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Gilmer. Thank you. So once again, welcome to all of our parents for joining us today for our kindergarten overview session. We hope that you find a lot of useful information in our presentation. So before we get started, I would just like to do some introductions. So I will first start with Mr. Winkle.
Good morning. My name is John Winkle, and I am the principal of Oak Park Elementary School. Welcome to our information session.
Thank you. Dr. Arney.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Arney, and I am the supervisor of elementary science, technology, engineering, and math, and also the coordinator of Title I for the district. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Arney. Mrs. Neeson.
Good morning and welcome to our incoming kindergarten families. I am the early learning coordinator for the district, so I have the unique pleasure of getting to work with all of our kindergarten students.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Mann.
Hi, good morning. My name is Heather Mann. I am the principal at Bridle Path Elementary School. Welcome, welcome, welcome to North Penn.
Thank you, Mrs. Mann. Mrs. Early.
Good morning and welcome. Hi, I'm Rachel Early, and I'm a curriculum supervisor in the district, and I supervise our English language development department.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mrs. Fenstermaker.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm the ELA curriculum supervisor in our district for K-12 literacy.
Thank you so much. Okay, if we can advance to the next slide, Mr. Gilmer. So this first slide just talks about our vision for kindergarten in North Penn. For parents who may not know, going into next school year is our third year entering into full day kindergarten. It was a big project that we worked tirelessly on a few years back to get this implemented. So it's a full program, and we have a strong foundation in literacy, math, social and emotional learning. We make sure that it's well balanced with the academics and the social and emotional learning. Students will also have time to work in content areas such as art, music, PE, physical education, library, social studies, and science. And we do believe strongly that our program is a caring, nurturing environment, and that we want to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students and that they're growing to their fullest potential.
So the importance of a kindergarten program. The kindergarten year for a student is really critically important to the success of the rest of their school career. We did have a pretty significant shift in the PA core standards, and our program does provide a developmentally appropriate kindergarten program, which really gives a solid foundation for your student to be successful the rest of their school career. They have an opportunity to establish relationships, to collaborate with peers, and engage in that purposeful play, which we know is a meaningful way for a kindergarten student to learn. There's an opportunity for them to develop those social and emotional skills. And there really is an emphasis on academics throughout that program. And in North Penn, we do believe that all students will be reading proficiently by grade 3. And the importance of a kindergarten program really helps us develop that solid foundation.
All right, so this slide is talking about our instructional minutes and what to expect throughout the day. So there are, as you can see, 390 total minutes. And the decisions actually behind creating this kindergarten schedule were very purposeful. The first thing that you see there on the schedule is for their arrival time and exploration stations. You will hear a little more about exploration stations from Mrs. Neeson, but that's a very important way to launch the day for students in preparation for learning. We have a morning meeting time. There is ELA, which stands for English Language Arts. That's integrated reading and writing together. There are 2 recess blocks, and that also was a very purposeful decision to give breaks to our kindergarten students. So there will be a recess time that will be in the morning for your child and a recess time that will be in the afternoon. And depending on the building, you know, that varies. We have a bunch of different kinds of things we do at Bridle Path for those periods. So that will be specific to your building in terms of, you know, where those recess periods occur. Then we also do have a lunch period every day. That is, the students do travel to the cafeteria to participate in lunch. So that's always exciting and something that we explicitly teach the students how to do. We have a math period every day. We do have special area classes. The students also travel to those locations. That would be PE, physical education, music, art, and library. And then we also have a period for content, and we've included there what content means. That would be our social studies curriculum, science, and our social emotional work that we do with students. I know we'll talk a little more on another slide about second step and what that looks like. And then we also have a STAR time, which is basically a remediation and enrichment time. We like to call it a what I need period of time, where we're providing some instructional supports or extensions to students during that 20-minute block. And then we also have a popular snack time as well. So I think in a future slide, we'll talk a little bit more about what a typical day might look like. All right.
All right, so here's a typical day. Now, I must stress that this schedule that you see in front of you may not be the same exact schedule that your child has next year. There's 13 elementary schools, and each kindergarten schedule looks slightly different, and things take place at different times of the day. But this kind of gives you an overview of what this might look like. So as Mrs. Mann said, you know, they'll come in, students are going to come in, they'll have their arrival, they'll have their exploration stations first thing in the morning. That kind of gets them in the door and gets them engaging with their peers and with their teacher right away. They have a chance to come in and explore. Morning meeting happens in the morning, obviously. And then, you know, we do make sure that the recess periods are 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. That gives a break in the morning and the afternoon. An important thing to note also is that the lunch and the snack time kind of counterbalance each other. So if your child has a morning lunch period, they'll probably have an afternoon snack time. Vice versa, if they have an early afternoon lunchtime, then they'll have a morning snack time. We try to balance that out there to make sure they have a chance to have their breaks as well. They have their 45-minute special period. We try to make sure that's somewhere in the middle of the day, not first thing in the morning, not last thing at the end of the day. We try to make sure that's kind of in the middle somewhere. And then, as mentioned, the recess periods, and then dismissal happens at the end of the day. So this kind of gives you an overview. Now, it looks like a lot. As a kindergarten parent, you'd be like, oh my goodness, my child will never be able to handle this. Yes, they will. Our teachers do a great job at making sure the day flows, letting in those natural breaks where necessary to make sure students are engaged. So it does look like a lot, and we do try to pack a lot into a day, but it's done with tender love and care, and the teachers do a great job at making sure the students are able to manage it, and they help navigate the kids through the day.
So as Mr. Winkle just mentioned, as the parent of a kindergartner, you probably are thinking, wow, 390 minutes. That is a whole lot of minutes. And there is a lot in that day. However, as Mr. Winkle said, our kindergarten teachers are phenomenal and they completely understand the developmental needs of a kindergartner. Our day is designed specifically to meet those needs. As your child enters kindergarten, their learning stamina will begin to grow. So what they are able to do in September will look different than October, November, throughout the year. That learning stamina will begin to grow. Their attention spans will grow, their ability to stay focused will grow. So please know that we have created a beautiful developmentally appropriate program, and we will help your child to grow their learning stamina throughout this kindergarten year. Exploration stations tailor beautifully into that developmentally appropriate part of our day. So your kindergartner will have the opportunity to arrive at school. Some of them may enjoy breakfast. Depending on when they arrive at school, they all walk into exploration stations thoughtfully set up by their teacher. These stations are meant to enhance fine motor development, which are those small muscle motors, so manipulating beads and blocks. An engineer's dream is really what our exploration stations are made of. They are very play-based. They are very collaborative. So this is a wonderful time for your kindergartner to have the opportunity to talk and explore and create with the peers in their classroom. They are teacher suggested activities. However, there is no real right or wrong way to do our exploration stations because the teacher is encouraging exploration from your child. It's an opportunity for social interaction and sharing. And while the exploration stations are plentiful, and in all of our kindergarten classrooms, they will vary, you will see things like Legos and opportunities to cut with scissors, using Play-Dohs, building with blocks, coloring, all different activities that use your child's fine motor skills and the pathways in their brain that allow them to create and explore. It's a lovely way to begin our day. And then along with that, let's talk about the social and emotional learning for your child. So that is a critical piece to the success of our kindergarten program. And we put equal importance on social emotional learning as we do academic. Your child in kindergarten will have the opportunity to engage in our second step lessons. Second step is a curriculum that your child will see weekly. There are adorable puppets that go along with the program that the students love, and they look forward to seeing on a regular basis. Second step helps your child understand skills such as empathy, fair play, emotional regulation, how to listen for learning, how to self-advocate, self-talk. Lots of different lessons come throughout the second step lesson. While your child will have one explicit session of second step, the activities and the learning, the skills are really interwoven throughout their day so that we really are enhancing their social emotional learning. All of our kindergarten classrooms also utilize the responsive classroom approach. So you will hear your child talk a lot about morning meeting. Morning meeting is a very favorite part of a kindergartner's day. Probably the most favorite part of the morning meeting is the greeting. So you'll probably hear your child talk about the greeting. And if you don't, you should probably ask them, what was your greeting today? Our kindergarten teachers are amazing and they do all different greetings. There's a shoe greeting, a song greeting, all different greetings. They'll always have a morning message from their teacher. So a teacher will have written them a note, which will then help them, begin to perfect their reading skills, some type of share where they get to share something about themselves, and then always a group activity. Your child will have a hand in establishing classroom rules, which makes them feel like an integral part of that classroom community. There will be responsive energizers and academic choice. It's an approach used throughout all of our kindergarten classrooms, so one that meets your child's developmental needs.
Okay, we have our English language arts block. Our English language arts curriculum is taught over 110 minutes. And we break this up into really manageable parts for our students. So we spend about approximately 45 minutes to address the foundational skills of literacy. We use the Foundations and the Heggerty programs to teach phonemic awareness and phonics. We spend a lot of time in the beginning of the year making sure that students master their letter knowledge, their letter identification, and associating letters with sounds, so that later they can string these letters into words and then begin reading words and sentences and longer paragraphs. We also spend a lot of time on handwriting. Handwriting is a critical piece of the Foundations program, and you will notice a big difference with your students' handwriting this year. We spend a lot of time in the beginning of the year with lowercase letters. So if your students have already been writing uppercase letters in their preschool settings, you're going to see them make that change to lowercase letters because it's the letter we see most often when we read and the letter we use most often when we're writing. And then we spend about 65 minutes of this block on comprehension, skill, and strategy instruction, as well as writing instruction. Your kids will be exposed to a lot of great literature, very engaging literature, literature that's culturally responsive, and they're going to spend a lot of time with their writing. You'll see them, grow in their writing throughout the year, from writing strings of letters to making sure that those letters match their picture that they're writing, stringing them together to make sentences, and so on.
Okay, transitioning from ELA to math. So your sons and daughters will have 60 minutes a day in math instruction. And for this year, we're rolling out a brand new math program called Ready Math. And the Ready Math program really takes its research and studies from the Common Core and the Pennsylvania Core. So it's a standards line program where it focuses on having the kids try it by themselves for inquiry, discuss it with their peers through discourse, and then connecting it to what is being explicitly taught by the teacher or prior knowledge. Throughout the school year, the students will spend a majority of their time doing counting and cardinality, algebraic thinking, numbers and operations in a base 10 system. So your kids have to be really secure with understanding numbers up to 20, doing some basic measurement, and learning some geometric concepts. Next slide. Other content areas that Ms. Neeson talked about earlier a little bit is your sons and daughters will be exposed to science and social studies throughout the year as well. And the students really enjoy our science program because it's hands-on and very inquiry-based. The three programs that your kiddos will be exposed to are called Animals 2x2, Materials and Motion, and Trees and Weather. So it's a mixture of life science and physical science. Also, your students will be exposed to 30 minutes of social studies. And the social studies program focuses on helping your kids identify people in your community, in your schools, learning about school community businesses with goods and services, some very basic map skills, and really kind of running nice parallel with the second steps, learning about citizenship and how to show respect with your fellow students. But all of this happens within 30 minutes on a rotation basis. So one day they may have science, and they may have second steps. One day they may have social studies. So all of these content areas are integrated into a 30-minute time period.
And then we have a very robust special area program. The students will rotate through these specials on a daily basis. It's on a 4-day cycle. So once they get through all 4 of these specials, it would just start over with the next special that they have. So if we're working on a Monday through Friday schedule, they may have art on Monday, they have library, music, physical education, and then on a Friday, it would go back to art. Or if Friday happens to be a holiday, they would start art again on the following Monday. So you won't have a specific day to know that you have one of these specials. You have to make sure that you know what day of the cycle it is, and your students get to really get to know this cycle, and their teachers do a wonderful job of sending reminders home to let you know what day your student may want to make sure they wear sneakers, because they're going to need to wear sneakers on a physical education day. We don't want any students in flip-flops or sandals. However cute they are, we need to make sure that they're safe for their physical education day. You may also want to be thoughtful of what you would dress your child in for art, because they are doing all kinds of things and using materials and possibly paints and things like that, glue. So these are just things to be mindful of as you continue to work through the special area program that we have in North Penn.
Okay, over to technology. So Chromebooks, if you weren't already familiar, your student will be getting a Chromebook, and this will be provided by our district. And information will be coming out about distribution from our technology department, and that will occur next month in August. In addition, there will be login instructions and a handout at distribution to really help facilitate the entire login process. And if you have any issues at all, that you can see at the bottom of the slide there, npfamilytech@npenn.org. You can go ahead and write that down. That will be very helpful. Also, right off of our district's website, there is, all of this information is there for you as well.
So purposeful play is a very important part of our kindergarten program. Important things to note about purposeful play: it is a part of the day that is intentionally planned. So when your student is engaging in any type of purposeful play activity, it is aligned to a standard that your child is meeting in their curriculum areas. It targets clear learning objectives. The teachers do thoughtfully plan and organize for these learning experiences. It demonstrates academic rigor, redefined to big thinking in child-friendly ways. That's a really fancy way of saying that your child is really doing the learning. So it's hands-on, they're engaged, they're doing the thinking. You heard Dr. Arnie talk about our new math program, and our new math program really affords children the opportunity to do the thinking and the learning with their hands, the way that we know young children do learn the best. Bob, if you could go to the next slide. This is just a fantastic scientific-based quote that I think is huge to know. It's been determined that to learn something new, to concrete that learning in your brain, could take about 400 synapses or 400 repetitions of doing something over and over and over again to concrete that synapse. However, if we do it with play, where we're engaged in that learning, it takes 10 to 20, significantly less. We often act as if, play is relief from work. So let's get our work done and then we'll go and play. But in our kindergarten program, we very much believe that play is the work of children. That is how they learn, and that's how they make those solid foundational skills.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the backpack. I'm sure if you've been in Target or Walmart recently, the backpack supplies and back to school supplies are all coming out. So you might be picking out your backpack already for your kindergartner. And there's just a few things we want you to keep in mind. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that the backpack is very comfortable for your child. Make sure that it fits, snugly on their shoulders, and that it's up so that they don't, have to hunch over or anything like that. Our teachers are very mindful of what they put in the backpack, making sure that they're not sending home very heavy materials and books back and forth. That's not something that's going to be happening for your child, but they will have to take back and forth possibly their Chromebook, as well as some library books. So thinking about size, there's a lot of small size backpacks out there that are perfect for our tinier kindergartners, but we have to be really thoughtful of making sure that it's going to fit the Chromebook and going to fit maybe the largest library book that they may want to bring home to share with you. So just make sure that your backpack is large enough for those items, and that it's comfortable. And then lastly, just make sure that it has a water bottle holder on the outside. And this is just a tip for you, because some water bottles do leak, and when our children bring their water bottles back and forth on the inside of the backpack and they leak, that could ruin some of the materials. So we would suggest keeping it on the outside of the backpack in one of those holders that backpack might have. So just some tips to think about as you're continuing to gather your supplies for August. Next slide.
All right, this is my favorite time of the day. That's why they gave me this slide. Lunch and snack time. So let's start before lunch. Okay, so breakfast and lunch in North Penn are going to be free for all students this coming school year. So I know a lot of the questions that came in advance is how do my kids pay for food? How do my kids keep an account? They won't need to worry about that. All lunches and breakfasts are free for the upcoming school year for all students. So that's a good plus right there. So breakfast for all students will be grab and go. And your student can participate in breakfast. Your kid doesn't have to participate in breakfast. So they can eat breakfast at home. They can eat breakfast in school. Some of the older kids eat breakfast at home and then eat it at school and have double breakfast, but that's just for the older kids. I mean, your kid could do it too. Lunch, my biggest tip for lunch. So for lunchtime, kids will be led into the cafeteria. And if they order their lunch, if they're getting their lunch, they will go grab their lunch and bring it back to their seats. The important thing with lunch is if you're going to pack your lunch for your child, many parents love to pack lunches and get little lunch boxes. In advance of the first day of school, you want to get your child used to managing their own lunchbox. So a pro tip for you, maybe in August, bust out the lunchbox and pack all the lunch in the containers you would be using to send it to school, and have your child sit down and practice opening up the containers. One of the biggest things that you don't think of is when they show up to school for the first time and they have to open up that Rubbermaid container that they've never had to open up before. So getting them used to navigating their own lunchbox, opening their own materials. Yes, we have help in the cafeteria if they need help, but students love to be independent and they love having that pride of being able to sit down and, get their own lunch ready to go. So getting them accustomed to opening up their own lunch and navigating their own lunch. Also, maybe possibly even setting a timer. Students have 30 minutes for lunch, and that's not us trying to be micromanaging. We have 7 grade levels that need to go through the cafeteria in a given day, so we can't give each grade level an hour worth of lunch. So setting a timer, getting your child used to sitting down, opening up their lunchbox, and eating within a 30-minute period of time will go a long way in getting them used to what it's going to be like when they get to school. There was a lot of questions about allergy stuff. You are allowed to pack peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. If your child has a food allergy, each cafeteria has a special place where there's allergy-friendly tables where students can sit with peers that don't have allergy food. You can feel free to send in a peanut butter sandwich if your child so wants to participate in that. But that's lunch and snack. Snack time, the important thing about snack is packing something that's manageable for a snack period. You can't, it's got to be something that they can easily open and consume in a short period of time. A full bag of Costco size potato chips is probably not the best thing for a snack. Keeping it healthy, keeping it small, keeping it something they can eat and then move on with their day. Messiness is also something to keep in mind. One of the best memories I have is a parent sent in a piece of cake for a snack. That's great and all, but it's not really the neatest snack when you're sitting at a desk with materials all set out. So just thinking about that and thinking about what you could pack for your child that they'll enjoy during the school day. So lunch and snack. Also, another little tip, we do not have microwaves for student use. That's another question that usually comes in. Can my student reheat pizza? Unfortunately, we do not have microwaves for student use in the school buildings. That goes for all 13 buildings. Next slide.
All right, so for school supplies, if you visit your school's website, you will find specific lists. Actually, all of the grade levels do this at North Penn, and they're all posted on each one of the schools' websites. So there are going to be differences between buildings, so it is important that you go to your school that you're assigned and take a look at what the kindergarten team is asking for. Most of the time there are specific things. It could be something like the color of folder that they're requesting that you send in for different subject areas, for instance. It could be a dry erase marker, or sometimes we ask for a clean sock to come in as an eraser for using dry erase markers with a whiteboard. So that should be posted for you to see now on the website. So if you haven't taken a look and you're ready to get started with your shopping, as Mrs. Fenstermaker had said, All of the stores are starting to, get their school supply aisles set up, that it would be a good time to take a look at that list, see what is there, and start doing some of your shopping. We do have supplies here at school as well. So if there's something, for instance, that you weren't able to find, we're able to supply, things just in the off chance that there was something that you couldn't locate. All right, if you have any questions about the supply list that you see on your child's school website, just please, contact the school, here in the main office, and we'd be happy to clarify for you. All right, next slide.
All right, so let's talk about independent young learners. So our young incoming kindergarten students are incredibly capable people. So now is an excellent opportunity to really start working on those skills of independence. So kindergartners love to come to school. They feel like they are grown up, and they love to be able to do things on their own. So now is a good time to start thinking around what clothing works best for my child so that they can manipulate that independently when going in and out of the bathroom, when putting on a jacket, maybe to out to recess. Can they get that jacket on by themselves? Can they zip it or snap it or Velcro it closed? What kind of shoes may work best for your child that they can manage independently on their own, practicing in the bathroom on their own, that they can go into the bathroom, they can get their pants up and down successfully, they're able to wipe, they're able to wash their hands, they're able to do all the steps of going to the bathroom, they're able to get a tissue and wipe their nose all on their own, all of those things that they'll want to do on their own in the classroom. Please know that our teachers are absolutely amazing, and there are people who will absolutely help your child when needed. But I can assure you that kindergartners very much love to be independent. So giving them the opportunity for the next month and a half to practice those skills really sets them up for success in a kindergarten classroom. And then just a request from the kindergarten teacher. Please consider leaving a change of weather appropriate clothing for your child in the bottom of their backpack. So you can get one of those gallon Ziploc baggies, use a Sharpie or a piece of masking tape and just put their name on that baggie and drop in an extra change of clothing. Something probably not their favorite item that they would want to have at home. Maybe in September, a pair of shorts and a t-shirt that you'd maybe change out as the weather gets cooler. But accidents do happen in kindergarten. Sometimes milk spills or juice spills, or sometimes a bathroom accident. But it really is wonderful and makes your child feel very safe and secure to have a change of clothing from home handy for them to put on. So that's a request from the kindergarten team, and one that we have found to be very helpful for our kindergartners.
All right, so some school resources that you'll be getting used to over the next couple months as you get into the school buildings. Obviously, principals, we got 2 of them on the call here. Reach out to us. We can help guide you through many of the questions that you might have. Classroom teachers, they're not back in until the end of August, but your classroom teacher is going to be the critical link between you and your child's school. So getting to know your classroom teacher, emailing your classroom teacher with any questions. The nurse, every building has our nursing staff who do an excellent job. There are people that you want to reach out to once we get back into school here with any questions or concerns. If your child has an allergy, I saw some questions about EpiPens and how do we navigate that. That can all be taken care of with the school nurse, and she'll help guide you, or he'll help guide you through those various questions. Guidance counselors, every building has a guidance counselor. They are phenomenal, dedicated individuals who do everything from answering questions to helping whenever kiddos are feeling a little upset in the morning when they're coming into school. They do a great job. Every building has reading specialists that do an excellent job getting to know the different reading levels of kids and helping to guide students in their reading choices. Special area teachers, we already talked about. You're going to have an art teacher, a library teacher, a music teacher, a PE teacher working with your child. Custodians, every building's got a phenomenal, and this past year we learned, phenomenal dedicated group of custodians who are going to do a great job keeping your child's classroom clean and safe throughout the year. Administrative assistants, as you call the office and leave voicemails, more than likely it's going to be answered by one of our administrative assistants. There's 2 in every building, and they will do a great job. Most of the time, they'll be able to answer your questions before it has to come to a principal, because they've been there. Many of them have kids of their own. They've gone through the school system. They do a great job. And then our cafeteria staff are some of the most dedicated individuals you'll ever meet in our buildings. They do a great job making sure the kids are well fed and taken care of, and their lunch experience is wonderful. The bottom line is we're all here to help you. So as you're sitting there rolling through these questions and you're like, oh my goodness, I have these questions, reach out to us. I reach out to the building principals. We work all summer, and we're more than willing to kind of answer your questions and make your experience of entering into school, maybe many of you for the first time, as smooth as it possibly can be. Next slide. Special education. So many of you, your child might have an individualized education plan or an IEP coming in from either preschool or in early intervention. If you have any questions regarding your child's IEP or how that transitions into the school setting, somebody should have already been in contact with you, but if you have any questions, reach out to the buildings and we can help get you in touch with our special ed supervisors who oversee our special ed programming. We do have speech, OT, PT, vision, and hearing. All those supports are built into the school day. So many of you, if you have children who have any of these services, these people will be reaching out to you in the first couple weeks of school to help get all that set up. And if you ever have any questions regarding special education or any of the programming for your child, reaching out to the principal, reaching out to the special ed supervisor. If you don't know who that is, call the office. We can get you in touch. We're here to help guide you through that process and making that transition into the school setting as smooth as possible for you.
Okay. In addition to special education, we have other additional services for our students, and those include our English language development department that services all of our students that are English learners. We also have extended daycare that you can sign up for. We have the Suzuki music program, and then we also have guidance counselor support, and that's extended obviously well throughout kindergarten and the upper grades.
So let's talk about homework in kindergarten. After careful consideration, rooted in research, when we transitioned from our half day to our full day program, our policy was written as such that there is not formal homework in kindergarten. Your kindergartner will have spent their entire day in school for an absolutely fabulous, developmentally appropriate program. And so the teachers will not be assigning formal homework. That is not to say that you will not hear an encouragement of reading every night with your child and talking with your child about their day and extending their learning opportunities, conversations around what did you learn and having them count. But there is not any formal homework. So you don't need to look for a homework folder that would have a worksheet or any type of assignment in it. There will likely be possibly some type of communication folder, or that may be done online, but you do not need to look for any type of formal homework that will be assigned to your child.
Okay, so progress reports. So for all of our grade levels, K to 6, we are on a trimester. So progress reports are issued 3 times a year. And we give parents an opportunity in November before that first progress report is issued in December to hold the conference with the teacher. So it gives you and the teacher an opportunity to find out the strengths and the needs of your child, where your child is making progress, areas that the teacher may be working on. So we have 2 days set aside in early November to do those conferences with parents. And we are planning to do them in person this year so that you can come into the building and meet with your teacher if that's convenient for you. If not, we can always arrange a Google meeting as well. The second conference for parents is in March. It's the last week in March, one of the last days in March. It's a half day. So that's really if you feel the need to come in for a conference, we offer you that opportunity, but always know that you can meet with your teacher at any point. If you have any concerns or you have any questions, that's always an ongoing open door. And then the final progress report is issued in June, and that usually goes home with your, actually it's through Infinite Campus. So that will be posted after on the last student day. We do not send home paper copies of progress reports anymore. Everything is done through our parent portal system through Infinite Campus. And the technology team will give you instructions when it's time for you to go in and to see the progress report for your child. And as I said, at any time you can communicate with your child's teacher. And then something else you should have been receiving, we started with school readiness tips and activities and push that out to all of our families as you prepare your student for kindergarten. So there's various topics like how to get along with children in the classroom. And then usually there's a piece of literature, a book that you can read to your child. So look for those weekly. They're really helpful tips. This is the third year that we've been doing that. And I know that many of our previous parents have found them to be helpful. So K-Day. So we have a lot of questions. What is K-Day? So K-Day is transportation's way of inviting you and your child to ride the school bus just to see what it's like if you're taking transportation. So they arrange it at the high school where our bus garage is. And the first date is August 10th. And you see there's two times. You can sign up for the 8:30 time or the 10 a.m. time. And then they offer it again on Thursday, August 19th. Same times, 8:30 and 10 a.m. So there is a link on our website. If you go to our website on the main page, it'll show K-Day. And once again, that's just about transportation and riding the yellow bus. A lot of the kids enjoy doing it. It takes out some of the guesswork on what it's like to be on a yellow bus. So they do enjoy doing that. So we will also push out again this evening to all of our kindergarten families, just a reminder, and it will have the sign up sheet that you can sign up for the time that you're looking for so that we're not overcrowding one session more than the other. I do want to note that masks are required when you're riding the yellow buses because it is a federal mandate with all transportation. So both students and parents, when riding the bus, you must wear your mask. Next slide.
All right, transportation, getting to and from school. It's always an adventure. And so transportation, students will either be assigned as a walker or a bus rider. You always, as a parent, have the option of driving your child in and picking your child up as a car rider. And daycare vans also, many of the local daycares also transport kids in and out. Also, if you're in extended care before or after school, there's a link on the website for that as well. They'll always already be in school, so this is kind of a non-issue. But when you come into orientation in late August, you're going to get a transportation tag. You're going to have a chance to put on your child's book bag a transportation tag that will show how the student is getting to and from school. So if your child is a bus rider, in my building, you may have a tag on there that says bus 22. So all the teachers, everyone who sees your child will know that your child's going to be on bus 22. Anytime, I mean, your child may be on bus 22, but from time to time, you may want to come and pick up early because you got to go to a doctor's appointment. Just letting the school know, and we can help navigate that and make sure your child is where they need to be at any given time. Transportation is probably one of the things I've been through kindergarten twice that causes some of the most stress because you're concerned about how's your child going to get in and out. Trust me, I know lots and lots of bus drivers. They do a fantastic job making sure the kindergartners are sitting toward the front of the bus. They make sure they memorize where the kids are getting on the bus and off the bus. They really work hard to make sure that your child's transportation experience is phenomenal. And I know every building has great car line procedures, and they'll push that out when we get closer to the start of the school year on where your car needs to go and where you drop off and where you pick up. So again, any questions that you may have, feel free to reach out to your building, your individual building, but there's no need for stress here. We'll take the stress work out of that, and you'll get those transportation tags late in August, so you're ready to go.
All right. So the way that you will locate your information about your classroom teacher will be on North Penn's website. You will most likely get a communication from technology giving you instructions for how you are going to locate that. But we wanted to make sure that today we let you know when you are to expect that to happen. As Mr. Winkle was just saying, we have orientation that will happen, I guess maybe about 2 weeks or so after you find out who your classroom teacher, is, so that you will have, the opportunity certainly to, if there's anything that you want to reach out specifically, to that teacher, they will be available and back in the buildings here at the very end of August, right around when we're doing, orientation. But you can expect that all of that information that you will need will be posted on the website for how you're locating the classroom teacher, and then instructions to follow.
So kindergarten orientation, that is a big day. That is on August 26th. And for all elementary schools, the start time is 9:30 and it will run till approximately 10:45. So this is where you get to meet your child's teacher. This is where you get to tour the building, see where the cafeteria is, see where the classroom is. We will have breakout sessions. So one session will be where you go to the cafeteria and you get to meet the cafeteria staff. They go over the procedures in the cafeteria. They talk a little bit about the menu, types of food that they serve. Then you will rotate through when you will go into the classroom where you'll meet the teacher. The teacher will go through specifics about what is needed, get a little bit more in detail about things pertaining to that particular elementary school. And then you'll also have a session in the transportation center that will be set up in each building where you will get your tag. You will get your tag if your student is a bus student. They'll have their tag with your student's name, the bus number, whatever their means of getting back and forth to school. That will all be taken care of at that table to make sure if there's anything that's not accurately on our end, that we can correct it right then and there to make sure that every student is going to and from where they need to each day.
So now is the time to get involved. You are your child's first and most important teacher. We welcome your involvement. Get to know your child's teacher, get to know the principal, get to know the people that your child will be interacting with, ask them about their day, read to them, talk to them. Your child's future really does depend on it.
Okay, this is our Q&A time. We've had lots of questions come in. Just getting myself organized so I can show other slides of some pieces that come in here. First off, we've had a lot of questions ahead of time and in the portal here as well, in the Q&A portal. Dr. Santoro, if you could talk about our health and safety plan that was approved by the school board last Thursday, and talk about masks. What is going to be the mask policy as we start the school year?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Gilmer. So both in June and in July, the school board approved that masks are optional for students K to 12. So that is your option if you want your students to wear the mask when they're in school. Adults in the building, if they are not vaccinated, it is a requirement that they must wear a mask. So in the school buildings, it is optional. However, as I mentioned on the K-Day slide, when riding the bus, it is mandatory that you wear a mask.
Excellent. So the other thing, as far as kindergarten orientation, we talked about that. What's that look like? What does a parent do? I'm not sure if we said it in the presentation or not, but there's no transportation provided that day. Walk me through, and maybe this is a Mrs. Mann question. Like, how do we walk through what's kindergarten orientation look like as a parent? And what should I do when I come in that day? On Thursday, the 26th. That was also a question. It is Thursday, the 26th is when kindergarten orientation is.
Yes.
So if you could walk us through that.
Sure. So basically, you're going to come to your assigned, building. And as Dr. Santoro had mentioned, we are going to be dividing everyone into 4 different locations where you're going to go throughout the building. So you'll be assigned a group, if you will, and then we're going to rotate through so that we can introduce your child to all of those different locations in the building. One of the things that we do ask is that you have, up to 2 adults that are coming with each child so that we can keep the groups at a manageable size. And we're able to, rotate through approximately about 20 minutes per, each station, that we have, activities planned to make sure that your child has familiarity with what to expect. For instance, at the stations for the cafeteria, our cafeteria staff are just wonderful and really explaining to the students exactly, what is going to happen when they come, how they come into the cafeteria, how they go through the line, how they make it back out to their tables, so that they know and understand. And it's the same idea when they go, for instance, instance, over to the classrooms where they can see exactly how the tables are set up, if there are cubbies or if there are not cubbies, or where their materials, where are they going to put their backpack or their jacket. We will rotate through those 20-minute sessions, and once all of the groups, have gone through, then that is, the end of the sessions. So we really just need you, to come, be ready to learn and be engaged, and we'll walk you through, each one of those stations.
So let's talk about the first day of school then. So what's that look like? So orientation, parents come, they walk through the building, they were able to walk through together. What is the expectation on the first day of school when our kindergartners come to school? And you can take that too, Mrs. Mann, since you just talked about that.
Okay. So when students come, well, first, all buildings do have it's an all hands on deck kind of approach to the first day of school, so that anyone who, for instance, doesn't have a homeroom, like the classroom teachers, would remain in the classrooms, but everyone else is out and about assisting students coming into the building. So if you are a bus rider, for instance, you would come in off the bus platform. There will be adults there to help students, navigate students to get, to the kindergarten classrooms. We here at Bridle Path actually walk with the students, mostly with the kindergarten students. I mean, it's right around the corner from the main lobby if you're coming in that entrance, but sometimes we may be coming in, different entrances. If your student walks to school, same idea, whatever entrance they're coming in, there will be adults there to help direct them. And as we have talked about earlier in the presentation, the students put up with that for a couple days, and then they're like, I've got this. Can you please back off? I can walk myself. They want to be independent and be able to make it, whether it's from the bus platform or where the walkers, come in, or the car rider, the car rider line. But you definitely don't need to be concerned about, your child having to navigate, their way, on their own.
And also, Gilmer,
Good. Yep.
I just wanted to add in that our building principals always send out a message to parents prior to school starting, reviewing all the procedures, like what dismissal looks like, where the car riders are going, where the buses are coming in. Sometimes they attach diagrams, sometimes they send a little video. So please be assured that they have that covered. And I know I would be nervous too, thinking, oh, where am I going to drop my student off and going to this big building? But there's plenty of supervision, and the principals give a lot of guidance on what the plan is.
Yeah, I was just going to add on top of that, Dr. Santoro, where every school building and parking lot and driveway are all different, and the way vehicles need to come in and out of there are different, and the procedures may be different from another school. So if you talk to a parent from Oak Park and Bridle Path, their drop-off procedure of how we come into the building are going to be different. So each principal sends that out because what they need that day is people understanding how they're supposed to get in that building that day too. So look for that information there, and it's not a single answer we can give you to hear what that looks like at each building. I wanted to talk about, we have every parent should have received the email on Friday, if I'm getting my dates right, concerning our instructional model selection, which is due this Friday coming up, the 23rd. Can you talk, Dr. Sanders, just talk about for a moment what if you select the virtual option, whether it's the trimester for the year, what's that look like, and where would the class be, if we can talk about that for a moment?
Right. So as we're still looking at the numbers as they're coming in, so as we had mentioned, in the virtual academy, you are not assigned to a school building or to your home school. You're in an academy. So you will have a dedicated North Penn teacher that will teach that grade level, and the instruction will look synchronous. They'll be doing live streaming directly with all of the lessons. There will be periods for also asynchronous opportunity for students. You will be following the North Penn curriculum and the assessments and the same calendar. When there's early dismissal days, the students would have early dismissal days virtually, and everything would really just mirror what we're doing in person. So we're in the process of getting our teachers secured, but we're waiting for numbers to see how many teachers we need. So we are going through that process right now. But the important thing to remember is that it is live instruction. It is synchronous. We are housing teachers at different locations because we want to make sure that they have the equipment and their materials to be conducting the lessons. So that'll happen throughout the 13 buildings. We'll assign different spaces for them to be doing their live lessons with the students. But more information once we get that academy together and we know how many people and who's definitely committed to that, then we'll put together like an overview like this. We're going to do an overview for virtual parents just to go a little bit more in depth.
Okay, very good. And if for some reason a parent cannot make the kindergarten orientation, what's the best advice for them to prepare for the first day of school? Is there an ability to get any information, or what should they do if they're not able to make orientation? John, I'll throw that at you if you want.
I've already had one parent ironically reach out because they're going to be on vacation and they're not going to be back in time for kindergarten orientation. Reach out to the school, reach out to the principal. We can definitely either try to get you in ahead of time for a tour and give you as much information ahead of time to make sure your mind is put at ease. So reach out to the individual building and we can definitely work with you to help accommodate your request.
Very good. So there's a couple other dates and questions about K-Day, and we'll try to get those in. I'm just being mindful of our time here to try to get in some of the other questions. One question that came in is if someone could speak to second step, what's that even look like? Is that something with the guidance counselor? Is that something with the teacher? If someone could speak to second step. I know, Marissa, you had that slide, so I don't know if you want to take that one or if somebody else wants to take it.
Sure, I'll cover that. So while your child may see the guidance counselor visit the classroom and interact with the puppet, second step really is provided by the classroom teacher in kindergarten. It's really a fantastic opportunity for the teacher to interact with those students and really enhance those social emotional skills. But I think I saw a question in there asking, did it include video instruction? And no, it's live instruction with the teacher. There may be a video or two that goes with the lesson, just something for the kiddos to watch. But probably the most popular thing that you'll hear at home about second step are the puppets. The puppets are pretty popular with the students, but it is a lesson directed by the teacher.
Excellent, thank you. And a couple questions on the K-Day. You will get an email today from us with the registration links as well. It is on the website. I know some folks are having trouble finding it, so we'll make sure that's a little bit clearer on the front of the page there. But there is a whole page dedicated to kindergarten information. If you go to For Families and just scroll down to kindergarten information, you're going to find all of that info, including the K-Day registration, which is on there. But you're going to get a letter today with the sign up links as well. The other thing quickly with breakfast and lunch, a couple questions is, parents are wondering, is that something that they've, when you get the free breakfast, is there time built into the day when they come in to eat that breakfast? What's that look like? Or are they getting in the door, grabbing the food? What's that look like? And Mr. Winkle, if you could take that one, just what's it look like when we're getting breakfast in the morning?
That may vary by the different buildings, but in at Oak Park, students are grabbing their breakfast and taking it to the classroom, and then teachers are working with those students. We have a large number of students who take advantage of the free breakfast, and there is time built in the morning where teachers are reviewing stuff, going over stuff where they can eat their breakfast. But there are some buildings where they may start pushing them back into the cafeteria. Originally, before COVID, all students ate breakfast in the cafeterias. But due to breakfast now being free, we had an uptick in the number of students taking advantage. And so that could vary depending on what building you're in.
Thank you. Question on busing. And I'm not sure I know the answer to this, so it might be called the building. But Dr. Santoro, if you can drop in here, how do I know if my kid's supposed to be on a bus or if I'm supposed to be a walker or I'm supposed to, well, it's either walker or bus, right? So how do I know which one I am?
So the school will know. First of all, we have a list, and that's sent out from transportation through Infinite Campus to all of our buildings, where the secretaries go in and they pull down all the children with their bus times, their pickup time, and their dismissal times when they'll be dropped off at home. So we have that information, and parents will know because transportation will push that out to parents and let you know what your bus number is and what your bus time is. So it's over 1.5 miles is you're eligible for transportation. Anything under that, you are considered to be a walker. And our students that walk and parents then decide if they want to be, drop them off, then we put you as a car rider, if that's something that you're going to do. So you will receive that information from transportation, and they usually start getting that out. Principals can help me. It's usually like that last week in August.
Yeah, it's later in the summer, so we don't have that information yet. They're still designing bus routes right now.
Right. So what's helpful when you come in for the orientation on the 29th, all that information is going to be there for you, and we will have that right there. And that's why it's really critical that we verify what you're doing and what your bus is, or if you are a car rider, or if you are a walker.
And we have several technology related questions, Chromebooks, et cetera. Kindergarten students do receive Chromebooks. The question is, do they bring them home every day? We have the no homework, right, at night. So I'm just curious, is that something typically, and we can't even say typically because we didn't have kindergarten Chromebooks pre-COVID, but what would be the expectations for Chromebooks in kindergarten students?
So I would have to say that the expectation is that we want students to become familiar with using the Chromebook. It's not that they'll have it out every day, every class, every period, but we do want them to learn how to use it because there are activities and instruction that we can be doing through the Chromebooks throughout the day. I would say we would have, one of the things we want to be prepared for is when we start to get into those winter months and it looks like we're going to have a snowstorm. Oh, it's going to be an icy storm. All right, well, we're going to call for a virtual day for everybody. So that's where you need to have your Chromebook with you because you're not going out because it's icy, but we're going to get in a school day and not closed schools. We'll just be doing it virtually. So I think we want to have a balance, but we are mindful that we don't want to weigh down backpacks every night with students going home with all of those materials. So I think we're going to have to gauge that as we move along. But the expectation is that when and if we have to revert to doing instruction at home, for all kids, they want to have that tool with them. And then the same thing, if we get somewhere along the line, if it does happen where we have to shut down and close schools for a couple of weeks, the student has the tool to access their lessons.
Okay, so we're at the hour mark here, and there are lots of questions. So as a kindergarten parent, of course, we've all got a million questions. And what's exciting is we're here to support you all along the way, your principals. One of the things we were talking about earlier, many times the first place you go to look, we certainly have the kindergarten information page on the website. There are registration questions, what forms, if there are forms that are still outstanding, and then any other question you may have, right? You call your school, your building, and to see if you can find out what information you need there. So call the main number. If you need to, you leave a message. If you're looking to email the principal, I'll share this real quick. Sorry, principals. I'm gonna leave this out here. This is probably the best way to do this. If you go to the school site for your school, I'm using Oak Park. Sorry, John. So if you're at Oak Park and you're on the homepage of your elementary school, if you look over here to the right, there's a tab called Staff List. Now, for security purposes, we don't publish all the email addresses out there. Let this load here. But we do have a directory where you can send a message through the website. So you say, but I don't know Mr. Winkle. I haven't been to Oak Park yet. I have no idea who the principal is. All you need to do is type in principal. Hey, there's Mr. Winkle. So if you click on that, that will send him a message for any questions you have. It's not a direct email. So it's really important that you put your contact information in there so that the principal can email you back on that. Is there any final thoughts or wrap up that you have, Dr. Santoro?
I also wanted to add, if you have any questions about registration, about forms that are missing, about the medical records and all of that, that can all go right directly to the district registrar, who is Mrs. Bozo. And her email address should be on the website under registration, where you can click on that and you can get to her to answer your questions. If you find that people are not getting back to you because it is the summer, and at the elementary level, we don't have secretaries in every day. So always call the main number, which is 215-368-0400. And the receptionist in central office will always route your question to the right department or the right person. So you can always fall back on calling the main number here for the school district. So I know there are many questions, but I think once you come to kindergarten orientation, I think you're going to have a lot of your questions answered, and you get to even ask more of the teacher and the staff there at the building. So this is an exciting time. We're excited for your children. We have a great panel here today, a lot of experts in the room and experts at the building level. And we're just here just to really, support you and do all we can to make sure that your child is successful.
Yeah, just a couple key dates. So the kindergarten orientation is Thursday, August 26th, and you're going to receive a letter on that information as well, and times and more detail on that. The K Day, which is where you get to try out the big yellow school bus, get to ride it, see what it's like, talk to the bus driver, understand the safety guidelines and what the expectations are at bus stops. That's on the 10th and the 19th, and that'll be at North Penn High School. So you just park in the main lot. You're going to see a lot of buses out front ready to do tours and whatnot, but you will come into the building. We have a little session for you in the auditorium. So that email is coming out as well. As always, if you go to npenn.org, we have our information for kindergarten, registration information, all the things we talked about here. This presentation is also posted under the kindergarten information. So it's an exciting time, but we're all here to help, and we cannot wait to see the class of 2034 come into our buildings beginning August 26th. Is there any final thoughts at all?
I would just like to thank everyone for taking their time, joining us today. All of our parents and guardians, like I said, we look forward to meeting you. And once again, thank you to our panel and Bob for being such a great narrator throughout this. So thank you to everyone for participating.
Okay, very good. We're going to take the questions that were in the forum. So anything we couldn't answer specifically, we're going to direct that to the right folks. So you should see an answer for these specific questions that came through. We hope generally you got all the information, and that's going to be it. I'm going to ask everybody to do the big Zoom wave before we head out. So we have our grid of wave. There we go. We thank everybody, and that will end our first session here at 10 o'clock for the kindergarten parent meeting. Thank you, everybody.